Save me.
How can I be dreaming of tomorrow, living for today? How can I be lying here beside you, begging you to stay? When the moon lights up the sky, takes the sun to make it right. You're the soul and life for me. Don't forget the hurt and shame, back and forth so many times again. Let the love replace the pain. I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like. How can I be living without the sorrow? Don't really want to stay. How can I wanna take you with me and love you every day. Like every night has its dawn, all the darkness will be gone, and the love will light the day. Without you here there's no use, got no time left to lose, and no more I can say. I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like. Wanna take you with me, love you every day. Make you feel, make you feel like, oh. I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like, I'll make you feel like. Make you feel like, say I'm living for today.
Another mistake I can't explain. Another misstep I can't regain. Now I'm reaching for your arms again. To me, baby, you're everything. We take one step up, then we're stranded. One step back, we're empty-handed. But
You make me feel good.
you know you do.
You make me feel good.
Baby, it's you. fine day will fly away. Don't you know that Rome wasn't built in a day? Hey, hey, hey. In this day and age, it's so easy to stress. 'Cause people act strange and you can
Disable screen sharing. Can you enable screen sharing? Okay. Okay, I'm leaving. All right. So welcome back. Hope you had a good lunch. Maybe we should, yeah. So actually something interesting happened during lunch. I filled the disk on the virtual machine. And as a result, I corrupted the file system and I had to roll back a snapshot, which means I had to recreate some things, which is actually interesting because I had to set up the Grafana dashboards again. And I'm just about to, I imported some new data sets. I just tested my configuration. So I went through connections. I was working at my data source, DSC. And I went in there and I fixed things and made sure it was working and I got it to work. So everything seems okay. Then I went into my dashboards and I recreated my location and queries dashboard. How do you do that? You say new dashboard up here. You say import. And then what happens is you get... Will you go away? There. You say import, you click upload, and then you get this file selector, and you downloaded, I downloaded from the GitHub the two default statistics packages, sorry, dashboards, and then I imported them, so I'm not going to redo that again, and that creates a dashboard, and you connect it to a data source, and then they're ready to go. But I don't have data because I trashed my disk. So if I click on locations and queries, it's empty. In the meantime, I've picked up some PCAPs. Let me see and make this file share, this screen sharing bigger. Should be a little bit better. I've got here a number of PCAPs and I've already run them through DSC and I have quite a number of data samples here. So I'm going to run them with a DSC data tool. Now this would happen automatically. I'm just loading it by hand now. So root DSC data tool. And I will do a sample with the first one to make sure it's importing data. And .sh, and let's see if it wants to. It seems to have imported something. And if I reload here and say I want this period, well, doesn't seem to be very convincing, so I'm just going to check. So one thing, if you see a timestamp like this, you can always check which date that is with a command like Perl print local time of a timestamp, and it should come back with, well, April 13, 2023. So I should be looking at April 2023 in my data source. That's where my sample is starting. So in my dashboard, it's not good because it's only on the 11th. So let me fix that with the calendar. I'm going to say 13th or the 12th until the 14th, 12 to 14. Oh, there we go. Hi, I got data. Look at that. And this time I loaded a server in Bangkok. So, and I got many more queries. So I'm going to load the rest of my samples to get more things into the database. So again, what I did is I ran DSC this way. I renamed the PCAP files one by one and I ran DSC on them. And one of the things I made sure in my dsc.conf was that my local address was set to match those of the servers I was trying to import. So here, the IP addresses of that instance of the root server they're listed here. And if I look at the PCAPs, oops, I should be here, /temp. Here are the raw PCAPs which generated the XML. If I do a TCP dump minus N for no reason, minus N says don't use the DNS to resolve it, minus R the file name, so 00 something, and I look at this file, I see that the queried name server is always the same. This is the target IP of the name server I'm looking at, and this is the target v6 IP of the name server. Here it's responding. But so those are the two IP addresses that I can see are receiving all the queries in this PCAP. So those are the two that I put in my file, here and here. And now that they're in the file, I know that DSC will do the right thing when producing the XML. I've addressed all the other parameters that we talked about earlier. I had made very few changes, so it was easy to recreate them. I hope I still have the local shared geo IP. Yes, I did have the databases created luckily at that point. That's good because that was a pain to get with the API key and all that. And finally, I have now these XML files in varlib DSC. I've already imported one. So I'm going to just make a directory called done. This is not because I want to do it by hand, but I don't want to process this one twice. And now I'm going to say for file in *XML do, and I'm going to run my DSC data tool script with the parameter file. And every time it's done, I'm going to say echo $file done, and we're going to wait. And it's not going to take very long. But you can see here that if I go into the dashboard called statistics, and I go back to here, I can see the sample is growing. Every time a file is being loaded, you can see the sample is it's loading all the files for that period of time. Because, I mean, there was 3 gigabytes of files for Bangkok, and I was not going to copy that. It's going to take hours from the US, so I copied about 10 minutes worth of data, but it's still a lot of queries, and I think it's about almost finished here. We have a few more. We're about, maybe 35, 40 seconds away. Let me make this smaller here so you can actually split the screen and see what it's doing. Now, obviously I'm processing by hand, right? Normally this would be running automatically, pulling in the files and doing this in the background. And if I reload, every time you can see how fast Grafana is. It's uploading the statistics. It's showing me for this time interval. It was from 8 o'clock to, okay, so it was actually a bit more widespread. That's interesting because I thought it was 10 minutes spread, but okay, it's done now. So let's take a look at the dashboards and location and queries. Oh, I still need to select the right time zone. Sorry. Yeah, so I have many more. Now I'm seeing a lot more. Look at that. I'm seeing, how many queries per second am I seeing here? Queries by country. 52 queries per second. Interestingly enough, it's not things from the region. We were just having an interesting discussion with Philip here that it would be interesting research to go and look at various instances of the root servers across the internet and check the number of queries per second they were getting, or at least how much traffic they were attracting respectively. I mean, in theory, in this region, if we have 4, 5, 6 root servers, they should have an equal amounts of queries hitting them. But the reality is not equal, but similar, not equal. Okay, well, that's a good question. Actually, maybe he has, yeah. Well, that would be for some.
The way DNS works, like, I don't think like you get equal, right? The latency thing and like the.
Yeah, but you're all in the same place. It's not on. You're all in the same exchange point.
Oh.
But still, like, we check the presentation presented by him, and the latency is still like 1 minute.
Yeah. Oh, microphones. We have a latency problem with the microphone. Right. No, it's okay. I mean, the comment from the audience was, and I was being a little bit naive on purpose and saying, well, we would have we should have equal amounts of queries across all the root servers. No, we won't, because A, latency and the way that the resolver implementations are, I mean, even the resolver implementations are working, and they do banding, and they're like saying, okay, I'm going to choose this one, and they're going to categorize them based on the latency, and then decide, I'm not going to talk to this one anyway. And then there's the fact that there's some peering questions that are going to influence whether or not one is going to be more reachable than another, and AS path and all those things. But it was just a bit, okay, if in theory we had, perfect access and latency was similar, we should see similar traffic patterns, which we obviously won't. So, but that was besides the point. What interests me here is that I just loaded a file for a server that was in Bangkok, and I'm seeing very little traffic from the region. So I'll have to see which instance it was, but the data I was copying was from IMRS LRoot from Thailand, yeah, and 23 for the DITL. So I was expecting.
The announcement is very different, and like they are not announced to the IX or something like that. So maybe if you check E or D or someone that is presented in the IX, like you might see some like more queries.
Challenge accepted. Well, I mean, no, but this is exactly the kind of thing that we'd be interested, and this is why you want to have these tools, this is why you want to have these dashboards, is you're actually trying to get this stuff, put it on a on a footing where you can compare it. Let's see, PWD. So let's see, which one do we have here? We might try eRoot or something. Do we have data? No, we don't, so we should try maybe FRoot.
I would go for F because they're usually well peered.
Usually.
Well,
Also have some policy about no export. Maybe check view.
D?
D is a good
Well,
one
let's see
as
if we have
well.
BKK here anyway.
They have very different names.
Yeah, well, you can kind of guess ATL, AMS, BCU, but there's no BKK. I mean, they're using airport code, really, aren't they?
No,
No?
the D they don't use.
But this is L right now. No, this is
that's
F,
F.
sorry. Yeah. I'm probably showing a little bit too much data here. And then, okay. BKTH, okay. That looks, yeah. So how big are they? DU, BKTH. We're talking about, ooh. Live demos. So what I'm just going to copy is just a little bit from 2023-04-13. So I'm going to copy this. It's not too bad. And I'm just going to here, right, so I'm just going to go, participant has enabled closed captioning. Okay. Bloop.
Are they transcribing you?
MKDeer 2023. Okay, I'm going to just call it. This is DRoot, was it?
Yep.
Right. And nothing more exciting for a tutorial to watch files being copied over SCP. It's like a cooking show. Now we're going to put it in the oven and wait for half an hour. Now we'll copy like 3 files, okay? Because I mean, we should get a good sample usually for the kind of things we're doing. Right. Maybe 1 file.
Maybe this data set does not set your laptop on fire.
Oh, getting 160 kilobytes. I mean, it's also coming from far away. Talking about latency. Could you hear the sound of the crystal in the wind? Yep. Well, almost there. I think we'll stop at 2 files. I don't know about you, but this is not very exciting. Okay. Right. And oh, coffee's happening. All right. Let's see here. And then I would have to say, this is because I'm doing manual processing, so it's a little bit clunky. I would say, right. droot, da-da-da, come on.
Live editor gymnastics.
Yeah. Let's just have a name. Oh. It's a kind of funny 0250. So really different time slots here. So unfortunately, it didn't grab them in chronological order. So I got 2 random files. Never mind. We just try with that. And we just try and run it with, yeah, that should be fine. And we say DSC minus D. Sorry, this is completely, really by hand rolled. It's not really that interesting. So 1. Right. At this point, we have varlib.dsc. We have 2 files now. It generated, what time is it now? According to this clock, 7:48. So that's the 2 files there. That's the set of files here. So basically 168. That's the timestamp from then. And there should be very divergent. 4260, 16813. Yeah, they're from 2 different parts of the day. So it's basically this set here I have to do. Oh, just a second here. This is... Wait, I'm just going to do something here.
And they say DNS is easy.
Yeah. It is easy. No, this is because right now we're trying to do things that we should normally not be bothering with. This should be automated. We're trying to load in old data to prove a point. And actually, I ended up not doing my other demo, which is to load in the random data, because I trashed my VM over lunch. Just, I don't know what happened. Anyway, pcap. What am I doing? Okay. That's 1. And 2. And now, right, I got my files now. Woohoo! So let's see. And this should be giving us dashboards. Let's look at the statistics. 8 hours. I might have to zoom out for this. Which data set was it loading now? The thing is, I don't know if it's overlapping. Let's see here. Yeah, it's loading into that. Okay. So let's see now if we go back to the dashboard for locations. There. Well, I need to load the right data set. Aha! Suddenly, there's a bit more gravitational pull around Bangkok. 125 requests per second. So what we just saw here was just doing a little comparative analysis. We loaded data from LRoot and then data from was it DRoot? Sorry, I'm not caffeinated. DRoot. And we realized that because of the way they're being announced, and that was being said in the audience, I don't know the specifics of it. Because although, I I don't deal with this kind of work every day, but as I understand, the announcements are different. And of course, the way it looks in terms of AS path, one will be preferred over the other, and there's many aspects that go into that also, and of course, the way the resolvers select their name servers and stick to it after that. There's various factors, and I'm sure there'll be an interesting research paper, as another audience member was saying. And here we at least can clearly see for this very small interval of time, I think it was 2 times 10 minutes during the day, that even then we're still attracting the majority of queries from local name servers. And then a few from some cities around the world, but that could be just routing glitches or the way that peering policies are done, or it could just, there's many ways, or the way the transit is set up. So either way, we have a pretty good picture of which queries are coming in. We're also seeing queries per authority, and in this case, most of it's from Aaron and a lot from RIPE NCC, but quite a large amount from APNIC. So at least it's more balanced in this particular case, but that's because we also have the other data set loaded. And this is completely wrong what I just did. What I should have done was loaded the 2 data sets under 2 different servers. Obviously, this is really just throwing things with a shovel and just trying to get some insights from the tool. So it's not fair. We're actually comparing apples and oranges. But the idea is at least you can see that very quickly, you get a very big bird's eye view of where your queries are coming from, the queries per second. You can set it up, all your servers can be set up in per node and per location. And if you automate this, well, you don't have to go through all the pain I just showed you. But now, there was one thing I wanted to look at. I wanted to kind of run a big series of queries against my local route. And earlier I was having trouble with DNS tap, and over lunch I was trying to mess around with it, ended up filling the disk, and the VM hung, and then I ended up losing a snapshot. I don't know what I did. I just was kind of like fat-fingered it. So I lost that setup. So I could do it again, but in a way I'm not sure I'm going to spend more time on that because this is not super interesting. The only aspect was, I actually did want to see if I could get DNS tap running. My only concern was, did I enable DNS tap? I think I did. So if that's of interest to the audience, I'm just going to quickly check in my not config again, because again, I lost stuff, so I'm not sure. Yes, okay, this is on. But as you can see, I put it into a file, and I don't want it into a file. I want to have it in var. Let's just put in temp, and let's just call it DNS tap.sock. And for that to happen, it of course has to be created beforehand. So we need to have etc dsc, no, USR local etc dsc dsc.conf. And I'm not going to read from an interface, I'm now going to read from a DNS tap. And DNS tap, Unix sock, /tmp, DNS tap.sock. And it has to be owned by the owner, by the write permissions so that the name server can write to the socket, and the mask should allow at least only those of that user and group. And if I do it well, DSC minus D minus D minus F, no wait, yes, minus foreground, USR local etc dsc.conf, and it's going to tell me no DNS tap support built in. Haha. Right, and in that case, I will have to go to /root, and I will have to see, did I have DNS wire? Yes, I did. Configure. Thank God for fast machines. No, seriously.
How did we end up in this rabbit hole?
Yes. Make install. And now I have libwire. Oh, wait. dpkg. Just a second. Pipecrep libwire. It's a real life demo, isn't it? Lib DNS wire. Yes. apt get remove lib DNS wire, because otherwise it's not new enough.
We do have a remote audience question.
Oh no.
If you'd like. This is from Try. Does capturing and sending XML files on the DNS server in this way have any impact on the server performance, bandwidth, or anything else?
Does the fact of,
Does capturing and sending XML files on the DNS server in this way have any impact on server performance, bandwidth, or anything else?
All right. Well, it does have an impact. The question is, it's probably negligible. What I would say is, in the previous session, I was explaining that in terms of architecture, if we go back to the slides for a second, I do have those and they work. They don't need compiling. No, I'm asking for it. I was running this on ARM. So if we go back to the slides for a second, I had, oh, PowerPoint is speech balling. It's one of those days. You are kidding. Oh, wow, it survived. Okay. So that was just the initial, never mind that. This is why I regret making too many animations. Right. The collector is actually writing XML files. And the collector is doing that super fast. I mean, DSC is really well optimized C code and is writing XML, and that's it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't process them beyond that. So in terms of bandwidth consumption or resource consumption, well, it really all depends on the kind of storage you have. But assuming that you have fast disks, or you're not, I mean, the files are aggregates. Remember that the files are actually aggregates of statistics. They're not actual queries. It'll have a marginal impact. And then on the DNS server itself, you copy the files to the, what do you call it? The presenter, or whatever you want to call it, and the presenter is the one who's going with the big muscles that's going to do all the computing. And on the server where you aggregate all that, the presenter, you can do all the post-processing of the XMLs and insert them into InfluxDB, and that's more consuming because it has to be chewed through over with the Python script, DSC data tool, and then it has to be inserted into InfluxDB. So in terms of disk I/O, maybe a little bit. In terms of CPU, somewhat. But even if that's a concern, you can still decouple it because you could actually have DSC on another host and use DNS tap feeding it from the name server. So I hope that answers the question. But my experience has been it's really not a lot of resources we're talking about. I mean, all instrumentation has an impact, right? Obviously. If you're measuring something, you're, Yep. Okay? So that was done, and I can do make install, and then I can go to DNS tap, DSC, and I can see configure, enable DNS tap, and this is when I say hooray for fast machines, because it's that fast. Make install. Really. There, done. So now I can say -D -F. And now it's listening on DNS tap. So that was that. See? Oh, hooray for live demos. Now, let me go and open another terminal, and we go into the same machine. 192.168.64.18, root, cd, tmp. Do I have a socket now? I do. I have a DNS tap sock. So now I have /temp DNS tap sock. I should check my NOT configuration and make sure that it's there, tmp DNS tap sock. So I can do a systemctl, restart, NOT, and if everything goes well, lsof, now this is my friend, to see if NOT is actually, using the socket. DNS tap, yeah, it has, no, a DNS tap module, but does it have the socket open actually? DNS tap.sock. Doesn't seem so. And this is where I got hung up at lunch before I trashed my, unfortunately, my test deployment, is that I couldn't get it to talk to the sockets. So even though I was sending it thousands of queries, it didn't seem to have an impact. So that, I wasn't really sure why that was the case. But lsof, pipe rep, DNS tap.sock. Yeah, it only says DSC is there, so I'm kind of puzzled about why that is. Yeah. I mean, I could just use a bigger hammer, which is basically 777, which is really a good solution security-wise. And then see if restarts not. Of course, at this point, I could do journalctl -xau not, less, and it doesn't really say anything. Yeah, I'm not even sure that dpkg minus list pep grep DNS not. Yeah, it has a module DNS tap loaded, and I mean, it should be active. So at this point, I'm like running up against some configurations with not, and I don't know if it's that productive for the audience. I mean, it is Friday after all. I could try and fix this and probably add it to the slides and explain why this is not happening, but my understanding is that this should work. Actually, it does work. If I write a file name, I do get this capture.tap, and I do get a file. If I put a socket and it tries to write to it, and I give it all the permissions, it's not writing to it, and it's not complaining. So this is probably something with not. So unfortunately, I wanted to demo DNS tap feeding directly into DSC, and so which is the most efficient way, so you don't have all these intermediate files and all that. And it doesn't seem to be wanting to do its job. And that's the risk of doing a live demo, especially after the little hiccup there at lunch. So I don't have a very good way to demo this. It doesn't seem to want to write anything. LSOF. Now there's a possibility that because there's no queries received, it hasn't sent any of the socket yet. So we could always try ns dot. Nope, it doesn't want to open the socket. So I mean, I'm at a loss here, and I don't think we should be doing a Unix socket debugging workshop. What? Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, because if I put a file, I mean, I could do this. It's just temp, let's just say capture.tap, for example. And I do restart. And here's capture.tap. And if I do a dig, yeah, I mean, while true, do dig at ns.done burp. Okay, stop. I do have a capture of tap file, so it's working. And if I do a DNS tap read on the capture tap, I get all the records. So I'm getting. So this is happening exactly like it's supposed to be. It's just that the name server natively does not want to write to that socket. So unfortunately, that part of the demo is a bit of a hang up. I need to debug it or use another name server right now. I don't know, but I think it's beyond the scope of this this tutorial. Right. The idea was really to show you capture methods for packets. And of course, the advantage of using this is that, again, if we're doing DOH or DOT, DNS tap being inside the name server process, all the decryption has taken place. You've got access to the raw data, to the raw queries, and you can do statistics on them regardless of whether or not the transport was encrypted or not. And this is what we really wanted. And setting up the actual architecture with DSC, what I suggest is that if you go to the, and I think on the links, I should add this over here. So several of the links are worth noting. One of them is the setting up a test Grafana and the DSC page on, on GitHub, DSC data tool, and actually for DSC itself. I'll have to update this. I know it's listed somewhere else, but I'm just putting them all in one slide. Is to definitely check out the page for DSC. And it was, I think, yeah, there was the Grafana setup, DNS tap info, but there was another page for that I wanted to talk about. I'll add that anyway to the resources after this is over. I did get a pointer actually from somebody else who told me just at lunchtime that there is another kind of DNS statistics generator, but it's probably not as customizable as DSC. And I think it is called, what was the name? Just a second. Actually from the same author who was doing the DNS tap testing. I think it's called, yeah, that's this one. On his GitHub, there is, this is the kind of thing you don't want to type, but I'm going to type it anyway, 0035 DNS collector dash Grafana dash Prometheus. Wow, first try. So another project, but I don't know how up to date it is, which seems to have kind of the same purpose. But but I don't know that it's much more lightweight. I mean, it does generate some nice dashboards as well, but it seems to have, I mean, less features than DSC. On the other hand, DSC can maybe be a bit overkill. So there's just to point out that there are other projects out there achieving to do the same thing using DNS TAP. So obviously, one of the benefits of DSC is that it's neutral on the transport. It can do PCAP, it can do interface, it can do all that. This one seems to be using exclusively DNS TAP. So I'm just going to put it in the links here. Yeah, and finally, the one link I wanted to mention, I'm running out of slide space, was if you join the chat.dnsorg.net, which is a Mattermost server, you can access it in your browser or you can access it in your with a Mattermost client. There is a channel, I think in the public, you register yourself, you create a username, and once you're on the server, you just join the public channel called OARC Software, and there's always going to be somebody hanging out who's using the software and who'll be able to help out and give some tips, including the authors and maintainers of the software. So at the very least, you'll get help from there. And I mean, it's not like, hey, can you install it for me? It's more like, I've tried installing it and I'm having issues. Could you help me out? And we'll try to do our best. And I hang out there as well. And one of the things I was set out to do when I did this tutorial was to put together some better how-tos to get DSC deployed, because it seems to be sometimes a little bit uphill. But we have a few how-tos that we need to improve. And then again, if there's questions, we'll add that to an FAQ or something, because some people seem to run into the same problems when they're installing the software. But the packages are there. Give it a try. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to leave it at for today. And if there are questions in the audience or remote, I'm all ears. Otherwise, that was that about DSC and query monitoring. All right. Cool. Thanks. Right. And it's Friday.
Cause I'm too good at fucking it up.
While you were telling me, I turned against the wind.